Winston Churchill, who said, less war and more jaw, meaning less war and more talking. Yeah, that's where it comes from. I hope you're really, really well. If you're anything like me, you're feeling a little, to say the least, fatigued with COVID, because I'm just getting so sick of not being able to see my friends and go to conferences and talk raw with people. But Jaw on Raw is a lifeline, and this evening we have a lifeline. Within the lifeline, we have got Moddie Lambert, who is simplyrawfeeding.co.uk, and she has been a stalwart. She has been cornerstone of the Raw Feeding Veterinary Society. She's helped us massively from day one. We had our first conference in 2014, 2015, and she was there on the first day, saying, can I help? Can I put out any leaflets? Can I, help organize lunch? Can I do anything like that? And she has been on the front line of the Raw Feeding Veterinary Society ever since. And I'm absolutely delighted to have her here. Moddie, how are you?
Very well, Nick. Thank you very much for having me.
It's great to see you. It really is great. We had about 15 minutes of wrestling with computers to get the camera switched on and get everything working. But we're now here, guys, and really excited. So Moddie, you've been such a massive help within the Raw Feeding Veterinary Society. Why do you think the Raw Feeding Veterinary Society is useful?
Goodness me, well, you're the inspiration behind the whole thing. And when I decided that feeding raw diet to my pets was the way forward, I guess Susie McIntyre was someone who got me in touch with you. Learned from her, and I think I came and begged for help. Make a cup of tea, or just want to be part of something that I believe is now a fantastic organisation and growing.
Okay, that's fantastic. Moddie, we can hardly hear you, so please please, you can lean forward and shout and really project. Yeah, we really want to hear what you're saying. Thank you. Try that. So you were saying about Susie McIntyre. Where did she figure in your history?
I think I learned about her Pet Plus products, and when I started doing my qualification, she said, you must get in touch with the Raw Feeding Vet Society because you might have something to offer. And I didn't think I had. And then you had your first one in your village hall in Bath.
My children's nursery school it was, because exactly, because I thought there was going to be about 16 people and a dog in the room, and therefore we got a really small room so that we wouldn't all rattle around inside. So what was your memory of that first event? Do speak up. People are saying still very quiet, Moddie. Do speak up, please.
It was so exciting. I remember going home in the car. I lived near, I think I was living in Aldershot at the time. And we had Isla talking. And I just remember going back buzzing with what it could be in the future and what it is now. And you've come a long way and done a massive amount of work. So yes, massive inspiration from that, really, which kept me fired up.
It's amazing. And I would say to anybody who's watching this today, if you're a vet nurse, vet tech, anything to do with the veterinary profession, you want to join the Raw Feeding Veterinary Society, then please do jump in. That would be absolutely fantastic. So Moddie, tell us what you do. Tell us what you do, and then tell us how you came to be there, please.
I have, as you mentioned earlier, simplyrawfeeding.co.uk, my canine consultancy. I'm lucky enough to get a lot of word of mouth, people who come and talk to me, obviously holistic vets like you who promote me. clearly, I'm not a vet, I'm a canine nutritionist, and I believe that changing a dog to a raw diet or cat is going to give their animals a huge amount of health and benefits from 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 doing that. So every case is different. I love my work. Sometimes I have some very sick animals that come my way, and most of the time, by changing to a raw diet, they get well again.
Fabulous, fabulous, fabulous. And you actually trained. So tell me, was there a time? And please do speak up. Please, people are still saying they can't hear you very well. Um,
Sorry.
that's all right. Was there a time you didn't feed raw? And what did you feed and why did you feed it? Please.
There was a time I didn't feed raw. When we lived in Wiltshire, our three dogs were fed the most revolting mixture of food from my local butcher that stank. And I decided it was too smelly, so I needed to cook it a bit. I mixed raw, so a raw mix from the butcher with all
Yeah.
sorts of really smelly stuff in it. And I believe mixing biscuit was great because it would clean their teeth. So I cooked up this very smelly food, um, and the dogs looked fine on it. Actually, I
Yeah.
have to say.
Yeah.
We also had cats,
Yeah.
um, and that's when I changed to raw. We had a cat who was fed mice and whatever he found outside, but I always left the bowl of kibble, thinking it would keep his teeth clean. How wrong I was. And several years later, he started being very sick and yowling. And his coat changed from a lovely shiny black to orange. So I decided to feed him a raw diet, and I got it all wrong because I starved him. So I learned an awful lot about how you shouldn't starve cats because it's not good
Yeah.
for them,
Yeah.
but eventually transitioned him with things like heart and clearly taurine being important. And that lovely cat went from an orange, sick cat to bright, shiny black again and lived to a very good age. So that was my inspiration, and it struck a chord that I think I'd always known was brewing somewhere there
Yeah.
to go and find and then start doing. I've never looked back. Obviously, feed my dogs a raw diet now, and couldn't do anything different.
That's fantastic. That people are now complaining that I'm too loud. So well done, you. Okay, guys. I hope that's about. I'm going to stand back from the microphone. So Moddie. So then you went and got you went and got trained. Is that right?
I went and did a qualification in canine nutrition with the British School of Canine Nutrition.
British School of Canine Nutrition.
Well,
Okay.
British School of Canine Studies, I think they're called.
British School of Canine Studies. Okay.
A very basic canine nutrition course. I gave up my job and did 6 hours a day until I qualified.
Wow.
It was
Wow.
based
That's
on raw, but it wasn't very popular at the time.
well. Okay. So they were. What were they teaching you? Were they teaching about fats and proteins and
Yeah,
carbohydrates and kibble?
absolutely. And
Okay.
there was no raw section, so I decided I would add one, which I
Okay.
like.
And would you recommend it? Is it a good course? Is it a course that you can kind of manipulate to your own ends? Therefore.
I think so. It's quite a long time ago. I managed to do it. There was a lot of things I wouldn't agree with in terms of kibble and flea and worm treatments and vaccinations and all the things you have to learn. But no, it was very basic. I think would be
Okay.
fair.
Okay. But it got you started and it gave you a foundation of
Absolutely,
knowledge. Okay, because I think you were working with food companies who shall remain nameless, but you were working with food companies before that. Is that right?
I was. Yes, a couple. Yeah.
Okay, how was that? How did you find that? What was that experience like?
Fascinating. It taught me an awful lot. I saw what went into factory food. And the reason I did my qualification is, I guess, I was giving out information without a qualification. And I didn't feel that was completely right.
Yeah,
And when I started, gosh, 8 or 10 years ago, there were maybe 6. I think there might now be about 180 raw feeding companies.
Yeah, there are loads. There are loads.
So ingredients and being simple is my ethos about getting a dog's diet right. It doesn't have to be complicated.
Tell us about that. What do you mean by keep it simple?
Species appropriate.
Yeah.
We all, people that feed a tin dog food or kibble will feed the same food every single day.
Yeah.
That is fine for some people. I like to feed about 4 proteins, but not necessarily mix them up too much.
Yeah.
It's just a good balance, meat, offal, and bone with
Uh-huh.
a bit of vegetable, if you like it. But I think there's so many people that try and complicate a nutritionally correct diet for dogs.
No, I agree. It's interesting you say about single protein in the bowl. I would go, and we kind of chatted about this earlier. I would go a single protein in the bowl for a week or 2, and then change. You'd have some greens and you'd have some seaweed, goodness knows what in there. But my feeling is that dogs would, in the wild, eat the same thing for quite an extended period. If they ate the whole rabbit or the whole gazelle or whatever it is, but that would be for a pretty long period. Maybe even a whole season, a whole 3 months or so. And so the idea of feeding different things every single day. What are your thoughts there?
I think I totally agree with you. I think if in a perfect world we would feed things that were in season, so rabbit, squirrel, we don't feed enough things like that.
Yeah.
They would absolutely only have that protein. So if you looked at a wolf pack may only get deer, venison for the whole of their life if that was the only protein they had. I think it's fashionable to try and add as many different proteins in as possible, but I don't think it needs to be as complicated as many people make out.
I agree. I think the bowls that we see on Instagram with 7 or 8 different proteins, you've got quail's legs and a slither of gazelle and I don't know, just
dogs.
oh yeah, they are very complicated. They are very complicated. They look beautiful. And I'd rather people did that than fed kibble. Yeah.
Yes,
But
agreed.
I can't help thinking that's going to give people a kind of a bit of a complex, thinking, oh, I'm just feeding lamb this week. As far as I'm concerned, if you're feeding some lamb, some skin and some liver and some kidney and some meat and some fat and some bit of this and a bit of that, and a few veggies and nuts, herbs and seeds and what have you, I'm more on your side than I am the kind of the Californian 7 meat meal that differs every single day for 365 days of the year. I'm much more with you on that, Moddie.
I think people get so complicated. It becomes so complicated because we are led to believe that we should be adding so many different things into a dog's diet. But yes, if you have a dog that likes lamb, for instance, that single protein should be fine. How I don't know. I mean, as a vet, you must be analysing that much more than I do.
Which?
And adding, well, I know we can talk about tripe, but it depends on the dog's issues. If they don't have any problems, then it's even more simple, I think.
Yeah. But then again, you don't want to feed a dog on lamb and nothing else for its entire life, or even for an extended period. Anything more than a month or 2, I would say, would be the longest I would feed a single, meat and organ, 80-10-10 type, base mix for a diet. Yeah, would you? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, so you're the self-styled queen of tripe.
Very glamorous.
That's so glamorous. I'm sure you're what was the teacher who was in charge of getting everybody good jobs at school? What were they called? The the careers mistress at your school would be absolutely delighted that you've turned into the queen of tripe.
I know. How sad is that?
So why do you love tripe, and how do you use tripe? Give us some tips. Give us some of your experience.
Oh, tripe's never failed me so far. Obviously, we know what it is. It's the the stomach lining of a ruminating animal, full of all the nutrients that that animal's eaten.
Yeah.
It's low in fat normally, although some, I think some companies it's about 6%, whereas some can be as high as 19,
Yeah.
which isn't good. Some dogs. It's full of it's a bit like natural yogurt for people. That's how I look at it, being a really good thing for gut flora.
Yeah.
Great for dogs who have had too many antibiotics, full of acidophilus, full of digestive enzymes. I just love it. I had a case many years ago with a young Westie puppy who'd been fed about 7 or 8 different diets in his very short life.
Yeah.
And we put him on tripe, and
Would
he was on tripe. Yeah.
Beef tripe or lamb tripe?
A bit of a fan of lamb tripe, Nick,
Lamb.
because I believe lambs lived in a field, not a barn.
Yeah.
And the whole smelly thing is fascinating to me because about 2 years ago, having moved to Devon, a very kind neighbour came straight from the abattoir and bought me 5 lamb tripes, fresh from the abattoir, warm. And my dear husband sat me outside with a knife and a table and gloves, and it didn't smell. It didn't smell bad. It smelled a little bit like a farmyard, but not how I'm sure there are loads of comments here on, I can't feed it. It's disgusting.
Yeah.
It's fresh. I really don't believe it is. It shouldn't be that smelly. I probably upset loads of companies here because if I had smelly tripe, they won't like me. But I really don't think that tripe is any more smelly than a farmyard.
Yeah, that's exact. Pam Thornton would agree with you there. She says it smells like, as you said it. She put the comment up. It is. I mean, I love the smell of farmyards. My wife laughs at me because we're driving in the country and we'll drive past a farm and I'll go, "Oh, that smells fantastic,"
Yummy.
Yeah, I know. I love it. But I've spent a lot of time on farms in my early years, so that's probably got a lot to do with it.
But if you think of what tripe is, if it's taken out of the animal, it's been hanging around for a while.
Yeah.
Then it's going to start going very smelly, and that's why I think people hate the smell of it so much.
Yeah.
Fresh tripe really shouldn't smell that bad.
Fresh
in my
tripe.
experience, having had it from the abattoir.
Okay, and where do you get yours from these days?
Well, we get it from the abattoir locally. We do have our own lamb, and if I don't use my own, I use Paleo's organic lamb tripe, which I think is a fantastic product.
Yeah, great.
Because it's obviously grass-fed is, I think, important. And the odd dog that has grain problems, obviously, if you feed a lot of beef tripe, then the cow's eating grain. Sadly, cows don't live in fields as much as lamb do in this day.
Just sorry, Moddie, after you.
Sorry, no, I just I think it's so good for so many things, and it would always be my go-to food.
Yeah. Fantastic. So, if in doubt, your advice: if in doubt, go lamb tripe.
Yeah,
I think that's pretty good. That's a pretty good rule of thumb.
As organic as possible.
Yep. Yeah, very much so. I think that's good. That sounds really good. Can you just repeat again? Sandra says, what is the best place to get tripe if you can't get it fresh?
I believe that Paleo Ridge have their organic lamb tripe is the best tripe I've ever found.
Okay.
It's about 6% fat.
Okay.
And their organic tripe is not particularly stinky.
Okay. I think, Yeah, paleo. And I think when tripe is really, really, really super fresh, it kind of smells of lamb or beef, really, doesn't it? You know, it's kind of got that kind of slightly dull, meaty, slightly bloody, slightly kind of cow burp, sheep burpy kind of smell. Surprise, surprise, because that's where it all comes from. Yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
more.
If it really stinks, it's probably a little bit on the old side, I think.
I
Yeah,
think as raw feeders, Nick, we also get used to the smell. Maybe
truth.
someone coming into my kitchen might not agree it was the nicest.
Yeah, and Pam Thornton also says supermarket tripe is bleached. Yeah, if you get it for your auntie Nellie, it will be white and bleached probably beyond tasting at all. I can honestly say I've never eaten it myself, but my wife, who is half Indonesian and eats absolutely everything, says it's really, really good. I hope she doesn't. Have you tried it? Have you tried tripe yourself?
No, no, I have to say I haven't, and I will never try it. We do have it in our supermarket in Morrison's in Tiverton. But as you said earlier, bleached white tripe has no nutritional
Yeah,
value to a dog whatsoever.
yeah.
I'd have to be very, very hungry to eat tripe, Nick.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Rebecca says, does it have to be green tripe? I think, yeah, Rebecca, it does. White tripe, waste of time. You might as well eat your shoes. So green tripe it is. You know, talk to there's various companies that do green tripe. Just do a Google search and you'll get there. Have you got another case to take us? Because I think cases are always a very useful way of painting a picture, painting a nutritional picture. Anything come to mind at all, Moddie?
Yes, absolutely. One of my first cases was a very dear family member, my niece, who had a little border terrier who was diagnosed with chronic liver disease. She rang me up. We were on holiday,
Yeah,
in tears, that this little dog had been given 2 years to live. 2 weeks to live. She was fed an okay diet, but some of it was processed. Um, I moved in with them for a week and we changed her diet to raw.
yeah.
She was slightly overweight. She lost weight very quickly. And within 2 months, her blood tests were completely back to normal through a raw diet.
Blow me.
Um,
Wow.
the vet refused to believe it was anything that we did. And the only addition we put in her diet was a bit of milk thistle, damactin. You'll know what it's called. Milk
Yes,
thistle, basically.
yes, 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 yes. Denamarin.
Denamarin, sorry.
Yeah, yeah.
And family are always very difficult to convince that you know what we're talking about. But that little dog lived for 4 healthy, happy years, and
Wow,
it was completely life changing for them. And they've always fed raw since.
wow. That's fantastic. And tell us about Midgie, your dog, who we worked on together, and we struggled initially to find our way there. So just give us a little paint a picture for us, because I think it's always interesting to go through difficult cases, because you learn more from difficult cases than easy cases. Easy cases are really easy. It's like sick dog, raw food, healthy dog. You know, you don't really learn too much from that. But Midgie, I think, taught us a lot. Do you want to just share a few thoughts and a few insights that you may have gained from Midgie?
Well, thank you, Nick. Yes, I mean, again, a puppy who I bred, little Jack Russell, who's on the floor here making noises because I'm not paying him attention. Mother was raw fed, he was raw fed, born in my hand, and then in I think about the first year or two, started having what looked like pancreatitis issues, arched back,
Yeah,
rushing around, clearly uncomfortable.
yeah,
As a canine nutritionist, I couldn't solve it, but I did all sorts of things, and I came to you.
yeah.
Um, we did an elimination diet with him. He was having very uncomfortable issues, so rushing around, looking uncomfortable, wouldn't eat for 24 hours, would eat grass, would vomit, had
Yeah.
diarrhea. And what did you tell me to do, Nick? You told me to give him tripe. It wasn't the be all and end all with Midgie, but we have now gone, what, nearly 6 months without, I think we've had one blip in 6 months, thanks to your giving me confidence to change a lot of his food.
Okay, so what changes did you make, and what's the final thing? What did you arrive at as being a good combo for him?
Really difficult question, actually, because I'm not sure I've totally solved it, but I added Connor's Biofunction 8.
Yep.
Which at the moment seems to be amazing. I'd always be terrified to not use it.
Yeah. I'll put it on the screen for us. Here we go.
Okay.
Bio, just so that everyone can see. Think Biofunction
8. And I used to do a lot of my own DIY, so organic chicken carcass mince mixed with organic tripe.
Yeah.
And I wonder whether I didn't put enough offal in.
Offal. What sort of offal would you say?
Liver and kidney.
Okay.
I do quite a lot of my own lung, but I wonder whether I didn't put enough offal in his diet because I was nervous that being a little dog, he'd have too much offal. Also, I was very nervous about bone content because I believe that little dogs don't necessarily need the 10% that we think is the right amount because they're smaller.
Okay.
So I the bone content quite a lot as well.
Okay. Great. Alison says she doesn't give veg and fruit, and I would, most like root veg. I agree, and most fruit. I do like berries. Where are you on the leafy green veg argument on that side of things? Where do you come on that side of things?
I love the fact that dog naturally, if they ate whole prey, they would possibly eat the contents of the stomach, which would be leafy green. I'm a great advocate of doing our own in-season leafy green in Imagine mix with a bit of water to make it into green soup.
Yeah.
My guys don't like it very much. I do try and sneak in the odd bit, but they do eat grass. They are grass eaters. So I think berries, as you say, love the odd blackberry if you can get it in. Funnily enough, Midgie the other day ate a gorse flower.
Oh, right. That's interesting.
Now that's one I've never come across before, and I don't know that much about, but he's quite an odd character, and to see him take a gorse flower from my hand was just bizarre.
Right.
So I think dogs that want to eat leafy green veg, I think great. Fibre, it's what they would choose if they ate whole prey, which you would agree with.
Yeah.
But they don't all choose it. And I'm not a fan of root veg because dogs can't really digest carrot. It tends to come out the way it goes in.
Yeah, I agree. I think root veg, it's a storage. If it was meant to be eaten readily, it would be above the ground, and herbivores would eat it. A pig's root veg, but essentially goats don't really eat in the normal course of events. We don't really eat much in the way of carrots and parsnips and potatoes and these kind of things. So I tend to steer clear of those. I really, and it was Susie McIntyre who inspired me in that direction in terms of saying just go for the greens. That's where you need to go with the veggies. So for me, a certain amount of veggies. Some dogs are good at 5%, some at 10, some at 20. But I think some veggies blended up into a soup, as you say, green soup, brilliant, great description. And chuck in some berries. How many? Oh, as many as you like. 2, 3 per meal. You don't need loads, but would any other little secrets that you'd like to share with us before we go, Moddie?
I'd love to. I think seasonal things are what I feel passionate about.
Yeah.
them choosing. You'll see spaniels and bigger dogs taking berries off bushes.
Yeah.
Mine is probably a bit too small to do that, but they do have the odd one. I think seasonal is fantastic. If you can give your animal or dog a seasonal diet, wouldn't that be perfect? It's not easy, but it's where we should be going if we're really pure about our diet.
But to a certain extent, but it is kind of easy because to a certain extent the greens that you buy in the cheapest greens in the supermarket are going to be in season, because they're going to be the local. They haven't been imported from Kenya or Israel or Spain or something like that. So I would go so far as to say, and I've never researched it, but I would go so far as to say, if you go for the cheapest greens, so spring greens and kale and what have you, I think that's going to keep you seasonal. And then in the summer, you've got the salads, you've got lettuce, and you've got cabbage and what have you that you can grow in the garden if you're lucky enough to have a garden. Yeah, I think keeping it cheap and keeping it seasonal, I think there's a lot to be said for that.
Totally
Yeah.
agree.
Yeah. Good. That's a really nice point. I've never really thought about it, but cheap greens are seasonal greens, and if they're local.
I think, as you say, spring greens and all those things that are cheap and cheerful in the supermarket are exactly what I'd recommend to somebody putting in their diet through the Midgie mix with a bit of water, making your lovely sludgy green soup.
Yeah.
Just makes it like it's been pre-digested by a bunny or whatever has eaten it.
Yeah. I totally will. Oh, so Emma Hardy, where are you on lettuce, Moddie?
I've never fed lettuce, but if my dogs chose to eat it, I think I'd try.
Yeah, I'd be all right with it. I'd be all right. Julian says, I add the dregs of my chamomile tea to my dog's liquefied green veggies. I think that's a brilliant idea. Chamomile, great. Matricaria recutita, the mother of the gut. So there's a lot to be said there. A lot to be said. Nice one, Gillian. I really, really like that. Any closing remarks, Moddie? It's been really lovely. It's been a really gentle and thoughtful half hour with you. So I really, really appreciate it. Any kind of closing thoughts that you want to leave everybody with?
Oh, well, I just want to say thank you so much for having me, Nick, because I've never done this before, and it's quite terrifying, really. But
You're very brave, Moddie.
I know. I can say that now. I think just for anyone who's wary of tripe, just look at the company you get it from. If it smells, ring them up and complain. It's just the food that I think is so important. Hence my very glamorous title.
The Queen of Tripe.
Yeah,
Fantastic. So, guys, if you've got any queries, you want to speak to Moddie, she's available. Where can we find you, Moddie?
You can find me at www.simplyrawfeeding.co.uk.
simplyrawfeeding.co.uk. I've put it on the intro to the description on Facebook, but also we are going out on the YouTube now, guys. So if you've got people, very wise friends who don't touch Facebook, then they can catch a little bit of goodness on YouTube on my Dr. Nick Thompson channel. You're welcome to jump onto that if you're an anti-Facebooker. Very wise. There you go, Moddie. It's all over. Go and pour yourself a nice glass of wine, my lovely. Thank you so much. It's been really, like I say, it's been really gentle and really thoughtful, and I really appreciate your common sense, no nonsense approach. It's absolutely fantastic. I'm sure we all wish you very, very well with your business. We hope you continue to go from strength to strength. You've obviously got green, as in tripe, fingers, as in terms of creating diets. So that's fantastic, guys. If you want to talk to Moddie, you know where she is. You just look her up, Moddie Lambert. It's quite an unusual name, so she will jump out of Google for you. I'm going to say goodnight. I'm going to say thank you very, very much, Moddie, and thank you for all your help over the years, tirelessly and thanklessly labouring away. You've been absolutely fantastic, and no doubt you'll go for many more years. We so appreciate your input. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nick. My pleasure.
See you later. Bye, guys. Be well, eat well, feed well, and we will see you next week with Morag Sutherland, who is a behaviorist and a nutritionist and the secretary for the Raw Feeding Veterinary Society. And Morag has got some opinions that she's going to share with you in a really big way. So we're going to be talking about behavior, going to be talking about food, we're going to be talking about life and you know, the Raw Feeding Veterinary Society and what our aspirations are within the society. So join us next week at 8 o'clock for Jaw on Raw. We'll see you then. Keep sane, keep well, and we look forward to seeing you in 7 days' time. Thank you so much, guys.